Welcome to the first day of our summer series. We'll be having evening meetings for the next tonight and the next 2 months. And it is day 140 of the Trump administration. I know, time just keeps ticking away, right? So just a quick program note. We are thrilled to have Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland joining us this evening. We have Lisa Sutton over there to thank for helping make that a reality. No, don't, yeah. Representative Raskin is a constitutional scholar, a law professor, served as the lead impeachment manager for the second Trump impeachment, and a stalwart voice for Democrats and democracy. He's obviously a very busy man. Congress is in session. So we expect him about 7 o'clock. So hang on. You have to listen to us for a little while before we get to the gravy. But I think it will be worth it. What's going to happen is a staffer is going to reach out to Roxanne. She's going to give me the high sign. And if we're doing something, middle of something, we will stop. Ruben, if that is while you are speaking, I apologize in advance. I don't think it will be though. So we're going to have to be quick, nimble, and on our toes, but that's okay because we are Democratic women and we can do that. All right. My mother was extremely proud of her heritage. She was a colonial dame, which means that we can trace our family back to the original settlers. But she was most proud of being DAR. I did not join the DAR when my mother was still alive, as she so wanted me to do, but I did so to honor her after she passed, although I confess I've never been to a meeting. Any DAR people here? A couple. Okay, well, maybe I'll come to one of your meetings. But lately I've been thinking a lot about my ancestors. Lately I've been thinking a lot. Wonder if this is any better. Hold on a second. Lately, no, that's not better. Hello? Is that better? All right, we'll try that. Yeah. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about my ancestors who fought during the Revolutionary War. Saturday, we will celebrate the 250th birthday of our military. My ancestors, two that we have documented, were among the very first American soldiers. They were farmers and smiths, shop owners and ranchers. They fought in horrible conditions. They were outgunned and outmanned. They were short on bullets and boots, but long on patriotism. Their patriotism was a dream, a wish, something that didn't even exist yet. And their sacrifice made it a reality that has been an example to the world for 250 years. Today, I can only hope that I have half their grit, their guts, and their passion, because we are in a civil war. No shots have been fired yet, although I haven't looked at the news in about an hour and a half, so one never knows. But we are in it, and there is a binary choice each of us must make. It's not if you are pro-life or pro-choice, or pro-gun, or pro-gun safety, or a moderate Democrat, or a progressive Democrat. It's whether you are for democracy or not. That is it. We don't know yet what the not represents. It could be authoritarianism, it could be racism, it could be fascism, it could be a monarchy with Trump crowned and his sons being princes in waiting. I know that's really my worst choice too. I really don't like that. Whatever it could become, it will not be the democracy our ancestors fought for. Not if we don't stand up. Sorry about that, I slipped. Not if we don't, I'm losing my place here. Not if we don't stand up, put our boots on, and fight for it. And what does that look like? A big part of it is treating this election over the next 2 years, these elections over the next 2 years, like our damn lives depended on it. Because in all too many cases, they may. Every Republican who follows the dictates of Donald Trump or Project 2025 is a traitor to our democracy. They will do the bidding of Washington. They will clone legislation like the DEI bill that comes down from DC. Chandra told us as much last month when she talked about the hearings that were held on the DEI bill and pointed out that all of the people who testified at that hearing were all against the DEI bill. And it so upset the committee members that they decided to actually tone it down, soften it up a little bit, take some of the really bad stuff out. And after they did that, they got a call from Washington. They said, put that bill back the way it was. And they did. Every Democrat we elect is a voice and a vote to protect democracy. And that's the way we have to think about it. Every Democrat is someone standing in the way of the spread of this anti-democratic movement. It doesn't matter if it's city council or the White House. There is nothing normal about the elections we face now. Here's a not impossible scenario. Do you want a Democratic majority or Republican majority council when the Department of Homeland Security calls to tell the city that they want to have all the immigrants they can rounded up, check their papers, and hold them with or without cause for the feds? Right? No, you don't want a Republican council because they'll say, sure, come on down. Democrats will stand in the way of that. They may not win, but they will fight. And don't think that's impossible. We cannot hide from the bigger fight that's taking place all around us. We cannot take, and I'm sorry, but this is true, the half-assed, laissez-faire approach to elections that we always do. It cannot be the same 30 to 40 people who do all the phone banking, the canvassing, the door knocking. It needs to be all of us. All of us in this room, everyone in this room that knows some other people who aren't in this room right now. And this is a great crowd, by the way, just want to say. It has to be everyone getting out of our comfort zone and doing everything our candidates, our party, and our Democratic organizations can think of to reach every potential voter, no matter what party affiliation they may have claimed in the past. Imagine the number of voters we can reach for Tina and Lillian if everyone in this room participated. There's about 200 of you. In a little while, we're going to hear from Representative Raskin, but I also want him to hear from us. I want every Republican in Greenville County to hear from us, that we are on the front lines. We are putting down the TV remote and picking up a damn clipboard. And if Tina needs 50 people on Saturday and Lillian needs 50 people on Sunday, damn it, we've got them. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be around 18 solid months of working our asses off. I would like to be able to do that, by the way. And I know that most of you don't want to do this. I know what you're thinking. I'm not going to do all that stuff she's talking about. I don't really want to do it either, to be perfectly honest with you, but I will do it. And so will you, because I think that the people in this room know what is at stake if we don't do it. So I wish it was different. I'm sure you wish things would just stay the way they were. Our ancestors had a wish too. They made it a reality and they gave it to us. And here we are now watching it disintegrate before our very eyes. Our democracy is only as strong as the representatives we elect to speak for us. We have accepted mediocrity in the past, but we can't anymore. Mediocrity won't make sure that strong democratic voices stand up for what's right in the city council, county council, state house, and Congress when the long arm of federal authoritarianism sends down an edict. I hope conversations like this are taking place in every county in South Carolina, in every state in the South, in every Republican state in the country. Because we are all patriots, fighting for a wish we've had the privilege of living under all of our lives to ensure our children and their children have that benefit as well. So I want to hear you say it. Now, I'm not really good at this call and response stuff, so you're gonna have to help me a little bit, but I want to hear you say it. Are you all in? Yes. Louder. Are you all in? Yes. What does democracy look like? And one more time, louder. And are you ready to fight for it? All right. Thank you. We have your names. We have your email addresses. And we have your credit card numbers. So expect calls. All right. I personally have never had to fight for anything in my life. Not the way we're thinking about it now. But so many of our friends, our neighbors, and members in this room have had to fight. One of the outcomes of that fight took 100 years to be realized. It's Juneteenth. And tonight we're going to recognize and celebrate that with our next speaker. Roxanne, do you want to come up and do the introduction?
Okay, it's this beautiful crowd. Thank you so much for coming. Rueben Hayes is a Navy veteran who grew up in Chicago and LA and moved to Greenville in 2007. He's the owner and CEO of Crescent Surgical Supply, a medical supplies broker based in Greenville. He's also the founder and executive director of Juneteenth GVL, a nonprofit that organizes and presents programs to celebrate the annual observance of Juneteenth National Independence Day. The fourth annual celebration concludes with a royal gala on Friday, June 13th, and I'm sure you're all invited. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rueben Hayes.
Hello, hello. Everybody can hear me okay right here?
Yep.
All right. It's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you so much for the invitation. This has been a very warm welcoming from both Laura, Roxanne, Miss Mary, and all of you. So I'm just ecstatic to be here, and I feel like I ran into my tribe tonight. Okay, I really have. I do a lot with Juneteenth, and so most of the faces that I deal with, you know, on a regular basis around Juneteenth and whatnot are African American. So it's good to be able to interact and connect with you all tonight. So like I said, you guys have really made me feel like this is my tribe. So thank you so much. And Roxanne, thank you so much for the introduction. That saves some words and some time up here for sure. But this is a very unique time in history. You know, Juneteenth is just one of those things that has been very close to my heart. And before I get into a little bit more detail as to why I started and when I started, I'll just say that, you know, part of me growing up in Los Angeles, I see the communities that are out here tonight, you know, fighting for democracy and just to be able to remain citizens of this great country we live in. So it does hit a little close to home when I see the highways I used to drive in and, you know, all of the good people. I know Los Angeles, okay? Los Angeles is not for fascism. It's not for, you know, bureaucratic nonsense. Then people fight. And so if I wasn't here tonight, I'd probably be out on the highway somewhere protesting too. So there's that. We've got a hard fight around this country. And like I said, talking to Roxanne, in hearing everybody's passion and emotion when it comes to where we are as a country, I personally believe that we are better than what we look like on TV. I feel like as we come together, and we're going to do some call to actions. Me and Roxanne talked about doing a reel, so we're going to do that and just let people know that we need everybody to come together. Okay, we need more Black people in the fight, more Hispanics in the fight, and everybody in between. We need everybody to fight against what we have right now. But without further ado, not only are we here to celebrate our party's values, but also to honor a pivotal moment in history. This day marks the end of slavery, June 19th, in the United States, a profound milestone that reminds us of our ongoing commitment to justice and equality. Juneteenth serves as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring fight for freedom. It is a celebration of African-American culture, but also American culture. I did have a very unique opportunity of meeting with Dr. Opal Lee. She was one of the pivotal women from Texas who marched all the way to DC to petition Joe Biden to make it a national holiday. And one of the things was sit down talking to her, she said, Juneteenth isn't a Black thing, it's not a white thing, it's the right thing. Together, let us use this occasion to educate, advocate, and uplift voices that have long been silenced. By recognizing and celebrating Juneteenth, we honor not just the past, but also our responsibility to create a future where liberty and justice truly prevails for us all. As for me, she spoke a little bit about who I am and where I'm from. My desire to start Juneteenth came in 2013 when I had a work assignment in Houston, Texas. I had an opportunity to observe my first Juneteenth event there, and I've been traveling around the country ever since, just getting a great sense of culture, community, and understand what unity could really look like when done correctly. I decided to take that a step further and bring an event here to Greenville. At the time, there weren't many events to commemorate Juneteenth at the time. Again, it didn't become a national holiday until 2021. And so I found myself asking people about it. Have they heard about the history of it? And most people did not. Most African Americans really, it was kind of an obscure, unknown, lesser known holiday. So by it becoming a national holiday and people really getting to understand how important Juneteenth is. How important is Juneteenth? Well, in contrast, I'll tell you. 4th of July, we celebrate that because it's a major American holiday representing freedom in this country. It was the Revolutionary War and whatnot was fought. We've lost about 70,000 people in that war, but it gave us independence from Great Britain. 70,000 people is a pretty significant body count. But in contrast, the Civil War, we lost over 700,000 American patriots. 700,000. It instantly freed 4 million African Americans from slavery. Now, can you guys think of a holiday with much more of a significant impact than that? I personally cannot. So for me, my decision to make Juneteenth not just about awareness, but about celebration, I have no qualms. I have whatsoever about spending whatever money I got or utilizing whatever resources we have to celebrate that moment in a big way. And it's not just to rest in the past and revel in what happened, as much as it is for us to realize that what we have here is a gift. And that gift is community coming together as one. I think that there's a lot of people that through events like Juneteenth, they get more education and awareness, not only about the history, but young people get to see us coming together, working together, collaborating. We do scholarships, we do things for health and wellness. We have a slew of different events. We also recently collaborated with Habitat for Humanity. And so we'll actually be building the first Juneteenth build in Greenville, South Carolina. Because we see freedom as more than just a political thing, but it's an economic thing, right? As you all know, one of the greatest, my dad used to tell me growing up, my dad used to tell me growing up that your freedom is in your back pocket, okay? Took me a couple of years to really understand what he meant by that, but he was absolutely right. And one of the absolute keys to freedom is home ownership. Home ownership gives a lot of people the opportunity to own a home, create wealth for themselves and their families. And so we thought that it would be very important to collaborate with Habitat in making houses more affordable programs that they have with our own program called Keys to Freedom. And so this is a seminar that we also do. And I'll give you the dates of all the different things we have going on, but that seminar alone will give people resources and knowledge on how to buy a home and what they need to do to keep their homes, and also provide opportunity for people to apply for the house that we're building. Matter of fact, we're doing a wall raising with Habitat on Wednesday. So that is just in a couple of days. So we would encourage all of you guys to come out and support us. I know the community will be thrilled to have this many great, enthusiastic Democratic supporters. Okay. I'm sure they will feel the warmth of you guys' camaraderie just as I have. So I definitely want to extend an invite out to everyone here to come and check us out. Come and see what we're about. I'll give you guys a website right now where you can check us out. It's www.juneteenthgvl, as in Greenville, .org, O-R-G. So check us out. It's Juneteenth GVL, as in Greenville, .org. We have all the information about our different events. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we make sure the money goes where the money needs to go. Okay, I assure you of that. I myself, I'm a veteran. I believe in integrity. I believe in making sure that we do exactly what we set out to do, and we make the impact that we are indeed trying to make. Again, we are a nonprofit, so all of the money, one way or the other, ends up going back to the community. Shameless plug for myself, but with my company does great. So this is a great tax write-off for me. So again, we're making sure that all the monies go where they need to go, and that the help and the resources are available. Lastly, with the help of you in this room, our nonprofit will be in position to help even more people. As I sat here with Roxanne and Laura, we're thinking about strategizing different ways in which we can bridge the gaps in our community and, bring some more support here to the Democratic conventions that you guys have, as well as be able to show a more unifying face of Juneteenth. I don't know if some of you guys may know this, but a couple of years ago, we went viral. And I would almost say the worst kind of way, but it was almost the best kind of way, right? We already had our flags already planned out on what we were going to put downtown. And it was going to be very simple, kind of black, green, and red Pan-African colors, and, just come out to Juneteenth. And my designer came to me about an hour before I was about to leave the office to go to Jamaica. It was like, take a look at this, because I know what you've been preaching was community, unity, and collaboration, and just, being inclusive, right, of a movement. I don't want Juneteenth to be looked at as a movement that is that feels exclusive, right? Like, we want to be able to center Blackness, be able to center what is important for us, but we also would do it so much better if everybody was on board, right? So he sent me this collage of pictures, right? And so it was like 80% Black. We sprinkled in some diversity here. We had a white couple, we had a Hispanic couple, and it was this nice big picture. And I'm like, I think the city of Greenville would appreciate it, So I said, yeah, okay, that looks good, run with it. I'm out of here, right? So hopped on the plane, had a great time. I mean, my best friend was getting married, he was, I thought, going to be the proverbial, single dude. And so he's divorced now, but that didn't last long. But we had a great time, okay? So I get on the plane to come back to Greenville, and it's like no sooner than I landed in Greenville, my phone was going crazy. I mean, something, I thought it was an Amber Alert or something that just would not stop, right? So I'm looking down and I see pictures. Okay, so they cut the picture up, they put the flags up, and everybody in the city was responding to it. And I won't mention no names, but you know, there was a team of people, okay, that were dead set on using it to make it look like we centered all of the efforts of Juneteenth by centering white people on our flag. And so this went into the political windmill because they were political pundits. And so it went national. When I tell you it went national, I think everybody in Greenville, especially the ones that look like me, went a little crazy over that. They all had to go downtown to see for themselves, but locally, people were able to come down and see what the intent was of what we were trying to do. But nationally, oh, it was a firestorm. And I tell you, I don't know if any of you know Roland Martin. He had the nerve to call me Little Ruben. Okay, like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm looking like, where is the little? First of all. Donkey of the day, I mean, you name it. I mean, they were just dragging me all over the place. And, you know, my pastor went to Jones, who I think you guys are doing an event with. I called him up and, you know, he was able to kind of help console me through the thing. I just wanted to do like a flamingo and stick my head in the dirt and just pray this whole thing away. But uniquely, it's given us even a greater platform to connect with people around the country. And, you know, and so more people are now aware of what it is that we're doing here, now that they see that it was all for the right reason. I even had people, Roland Martin told me, he said, yeah, they went and redid their website to include more Black people on it. Yeah. And I tell you, this thing was absolutely crazy. So, but needless to say, it's an honor to be here. I'd be grateful to take any questions that anybody may have. Ma'am?
The only question I have is, I think there may be some people that may not have heard the part that Texas.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, I will, let me go upstream a little bit. Thank you so much for that. Juneteenth really started out as Jubilee Day. As we know, it was the last, that holiday represented the freedom of the last enslaved people. What happened was when when everyone was declared free, the word never got to everybody. Okay, and so there was still a post in Galveston, Texas, where people never got the message that they were free. It was 2 years after the fact that people actually got the word that they were freed. And so this represents that moment in history in which everybody finally found out and was released. Okay, so it was General Gordon Granger, and it happened in 1865 in Galveston, Texas. So for us, Juneteenth represents not only the freeing of the last slaves or enslaved people, but the time in which all Americans were actually deemed free. So that's the history there. That's why it's so important on many levels. Yes, ma'am. Took 2 years for the word to get to everyone. So, and another little smaller known fact is that they actually still celebrate Juneteenth in parts of Mexico because there were people that actually escaped down into Mexico, and they still celebrate Juneteenth to this day. So, little known fact. So, but that's my time. Is there any more questions? Anybody have any other questions for me?
What part
Mary?
of the house be built, that you're talking about starting Wednesday?
Nickeltown. Yes, ma'am. And the other cool thing about that, one last fact about that is Dr. Opal Lee, she's considered to be the grandmother of Juneteenth. She's the one that started this whole march to Washington and whatnot. Her house was actually burned. Her childhood home was burned down by the Ku Klux Klan. And so Habitat for Humanity actually came together and they actually rebuilt the home and they turned it into a museum. So, yeah, so that was one of the stories that kind of helped us to position this build and this opportunity in Greenville. And it's a pilot program that they're running, that they're working on continuing throughout the country. So I think there's 3 other cities that are signed up next year to start doing Juneteenth builds as well. So it's great awareness, and it's a great opportunity for those who are looking to get to a new home that may have struggled so in the past. So yeah, thank you for that question. Any other questions? All right, I
Thank you.
think that's my time. Thank you so much. I've got some flyers here for you guys too, in the back. Yeah, I've got them up there.
Okay, great. So Ruben, if Dem Women, we like to do a community activity once a quarter. So if we wanted to work on your house, who would we reach out to, you or
Yes,
Habitat?
reach out to me, but probably better reach out to her.
Okay. Okay,
But yes, the build is, the wall raising is on Wednesday.
okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Ruben. That was terrific, and we're all excited to celebrate Juneteenth. Okay, well, a week from tomorrow we're going to commemorate a pretty dark day in our history. The 10th anniversary of the killing of 9 parishioners at Mother Emanuel AME Church as they gathered for a prayer service. There are many days of remembrance planned, and I'm sure that many of the state's legislators will gather to remember their colleague, Senator Clementa Pinckney, who was killed. I'm sure they're going to bow their heads in prayer, warmly hold the hands of the forever heartbroken survivors. But what they won't do is take one small step to try and prevent something like this from ever happening again. Year after year, legislation to close this loophole is introduced, and every year it goes nowhere. In fact, it's never even had a hearing. So Dem Women, along with Moms Demand and the Greenville County Democratic Party, is sponsoring a town hall on June 24th on the Charleston loophole and other affirmative legislation like the hate crime bill. We want your voices to be heard, the voices of survivors, the voices of parents who worry every time they drop their kids off at school. And we want to try to get some answers. We have invited the entire Greenville County legislative delegation to join us. How many do you think we have heard from? How many Republicans do you think we've heard from? Did somebody say 0? Yeah, that's it, 0. The 3 Democrats we heard from right away, they're definitely coming. I am still hopeful that some brave Republican will come out to stand up for their actions, but we still will have some powerful speakers and a lot of people who want to tell their stories. So it's going to be an interesting night. I hope to see you there. It's 5:30 on June 24th at the Hughes Main Library. And in the Donkey's Tale, there'll be a link where you can sign up. There's no cost, but we'd like to track who's coming. So we have your name and your email address and phone number. It was a joke. A week from today, North Korea comes to America in the form of a massive military parade that also happens to fall on 47's birthday. There's going to be tanks, 6 miles apparently worth of military members marching, flags, bands, and who knows what the hell else. Ostensibly, it's to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the military, but we know what it's really for, right?
Yes.
It's really for his ego, exactly. Here in Greenville, we believe that the valor of our veterans, like Ruben and others in this room, not the vanity of our president, is the most important thing to celebrate on that day. So counter rallies are planned all over the country, including here. So join us at 10 a.m. at Unity Park for the Valor Over Vanity event. It's organized by the Greenville Progressive Coalition, which includes like 5051, Indivisible, Together Greenville, and Dem Women is a part of that. Bring your signs, your voice, and your energy, and let's see if we can get on Rachel Maddow again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, our May 50/50 supported Greenville County Animal Care. We raised $502, with half of it going to the program and half of it coming to Democratic Women. So I thank everybody who contributed to that. That was terrific. This month, we've selected Unity Health on Main, one of the few remaining healthcare facilities that caters to the underserved and lower income population. The coalition and, I'm sorry, they've been really hard hit by what's happening in Washington. They only have two funders, the federal government and a private individual. The federal government has frozen their funding and the private individual has pulled out of funding. So they are pretty much SCREWED. You know, I'm from New Jersey, so I didn't used to talk like this. But, you know, I've been here 21 years, so kind of sticks with you, right? So we are having a festival. There's going to be a festival that the coalition is planning. It's on the 21st. There's a card on your table for the 50/50. And you can make a donation tonight, or you can make a donation when you get your ticket for next month's meeting. And there's a festival that's going to have food trucks and music and games, going to be at the Unity Health parking lot on the 21st, but I'm not sure of the time off the top of my head.
4 to 8.
4 to 8? 4 to 8. Okay. When we all go to all these rallies and protests and other events, the big question always is, what am I going to wear? So wear a mask, yeah. So we have an answer. Wear a Dem Women t-shirt. I was thinking of creating a new design this year, but a lot of people seem to like this shirt. And so we decided we'd do another run of them. So on your tables, there is a link where you can order your t-shirt or shirts, or a QR code. We need to get at least 15 to make the price point manageable. They'll be 15, I think they're $15, $30, excuse me. But you want to get your order now because we're only keeping it open until 5 o'clock on June 25th. So, and I'd like to bring up Evelyn Nocella to talk for a minute about tastings on the town, which is quickly on us.
15 minutes. You've got 15 minutes.
No, you don't. I have more.
Oh,
I put you in the middle.
like hogging the mic. Deservedly so. Thank you, Laura. Your moving, passionate, eloquent words really get us all impassioned too and want to do all the wonderful things that we know we should do and we plan to do. I'm up here to talk for a second about a couple of more things that we'd like you to do. So there's a lot going on this month. Can you hear me in the back? Wow, this is a great crowd. It's wonderful. I got a call from Taylor Culliver. Many of us know Taylor. He is all fired up about what's going on in City Council right now. Many things are going on at City Council, but the one thing that Taylor wants us to let our voices be heard on is the county council's attempt to balance their budget by rating proposed funds for the affordable housing effort that they were promised. There was supposed to be 3 million going for this affordable housing budget, and they want to cut 2 million from it. So, you know, thinking of what Ruben said, how desperate we are for housing for people who are working, people who have hit hard times, people who've lost their homes. You know, this is really important. There is a petition going around And there's a link where you can sign it at the Democratic Women's Facebook page. I didn't have enough time to make another QR code, plus there's lots of those little table cards out there, so you have a lot to do with that. So please go to the Facebook page and sign that petition. And also plan to go, if you can, on Tuesday, the 17th, to the county council meeting. If you want to speak, be there by 5:30 to sign up. Otherwise, it starts at 6. And we're trying to get a lot of folks there to let county council know that we do not support, we're in staunch opposition to this new idea they have on how to balance their budget. The other thing that,
You can let them know that we have a link that they can call people to. Let them know about that.
is that
It's
on
on
the,
back.
on the,
It's not on the page, but we can send it out.
where is it?
Jen has it. We're gonna send it out.
Okay, on the Greenville County Democratic Party website, there's going to be a link if you're interested in phone banking. And we really hope that we'll get some volunteers for that so that we can get the word out even more. I know Indivisible is doing it also, so we're really just trying to inform everybody and let them know what's going on and just make sure that we can influence them. We did it with the school board budget, so that was a win, and we can do it again. I also want to extend an invitation to you to the Greenville County Democratic Party's major fundraiser, and that's Tastings on the Town. This is a gala event, and we are going to have Bakari Sellers with us of CNN fame and MSNBC. He's a former state representative, and we had the honor of having him at our annual fundraiser. So there are cards on your tables. So please use that QR code to get yourself a ticket or consider sponsoring us. Greenville County Democratic Party is a staunch supporter of all the things that we Democrats want to see happening here in Greenville. And we really need your support with that. There has been a change of the date of the deadline for the sponsorships, because that was yesterday, but it's extended till this Friday. So when you use the QR code to go to Eventbrite, it said that you can avoid paying the fee by sending in a check. That date's been extended to June 13th. So please reach deep and please support the Greenville County Democratic Party. Thank you.
Okay. I did fix that on the Facebook, on the page, by the way, the date,
Oh,
to
thank you.
change it to the 13th.
Thanks.
Okay, last month, we had to talk about food. And this month, we had to talk about food again. At the May meeting, I outlined some of the issues regarding the cost of meals at our lunches. I walked through the expenses we're incurring and balanced them against the lunch income that we receive. The board has determined that it is time to make a substantive change on how we do meals and the meetings. I want to say this. I love get out at all of you out there. But most of you are not coming here for the food, even if you're eating. I believe most of you come here for the fellowship, to look around, to see others just like you with the same concerns, the same interests, the same worries, the same desire to make a difference. Some come for the program because we have been able to have outstanding speakers and programs, thanks to Roxanne, and last year to Anita LeBold, and a little teeny bit of me.
Yeah.
I think that wasn't meant nicely. Anyway, some come for the program, and some come for the good, healthy walk you get after parking your car. Our treasurer, Terry Morton, has done a deep dive into the meal and the meeting expenses, and the board has identified two options. We are asking our members in good standing, those of you who are paid up as of tonight, to vote on which of these options you want. Actually, I have to say it's probably really as of like Friday. So when you go home tonight, if your dues are paid up by Friday, you will find an email in your mailbox with a link to the ballot, because this decision is going to be made by you, not by the board. The two options are this: boxed meals only, with the price staying at $25. The reinstatement of a $5 seating fee for non-eaters. We will pay the Eventbrite service charges and processing fees, and an increase to $10 of the fee for unregistered walk-ins. Option number two, no meals at all. Tea and water, which costs us $2 a person. So had they provided tea and water today, which they did not, we had to kind of scramble to make sure we got tea and water. It would have cost us $400 for the 200 people in this room. The seating fee remains $5, but we will pass on the processing fees, which means you will pay a total of $7.12, and unregistered walk-ins will still pay $10. In case you were not at last month's meeting to hear my remarks and maybe did not get all the information, we have copies of that information and Terry's excellent analysis at the table. Well, it's going to be at the table over there by the door on the way out. So pick it up. And also when you get your ballot, there'll be a link there so you can download the PDFs. The cost of the meetings have increased significantly, as you'll see in the material that we have for you. But in truth, we could afford to keep things pretty much the way they've been, if that was how we wanted to spend your money. I don't think that's what you want. I think you want us to spend your money helping candidates get elected, mobilizing voters, supporting our communities, advocating for positive legislation, and educating voters. All of that costs money. And I want to spend more of it this year. I want to spend some of it on billboards. I want to spend it on digital marketing campaigns. I want to spend it on things that are going to reach people and make a difference in our election results. And that's how the board believes our money should be spent. So especially in the two crucial years that we're facing. So to our members, thank you very much for your support and for participating in this important decision.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Congressman, it is great to have you here with us at Dem Women. We have a very large audience. I don't know if you can see, but we have about 200. Hold on, and I'll turn you around. We have about 200 people here.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Well, that's quite a crowd there. That's quite a crowd.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
You turned them out.
Well, so wait, tell me how much time have you yielded to me for my presentation?
We'll have as much time as you want. We do have some questions, but you can have all the time you want.
All right. Well, look, I'm delighted to be with you. Thank you guys for hanging tough and upholding the flag of democracy and freedom in Greenville County, South Carolina. I'm thrilled. Yeah, and we're all here as true blue Democrats together, which is awesome. But maybe I'll start on a bipartisan note by invoking our last great Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, who spoke of government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And hey, that's what's on the line today, as they're turning this into a government of the autocrats and by the plutocrats and for the theocrats against everybody else. And so, we're in the fight of our lives. I don't need to tell you guys, every single day we're in the fight of our lives, and the Constitution's under attack. And they've forgotten the first three words of the Constitution, the most beautiful words of the Constitution, we the people, because they think that we've got kings and lords and emperors and czars and all of that. But the Constitution says in the preamble, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty, do hereby ordain and establish the Constitution of these United States. And the very next sentence kicks off Article 1 of the Constitution, saying, all legislative power is vested in the Congress of the United States. All legislative power. We've got the power to pass the budget, to pass taxes and spending measures. So if we say to spend money on the Department of Education, and it's passed the House and it's passed the Senate, it's been signed into law by the president doesn't have the unilateral right to countermand that and to thwart it and to impound the money. He doesn't have the power to take down departments and agencies we've created, like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or the Agency for International Development or NIH or NOAA, because we don't have any kings here. And so, it's Congress that has the power to declare war. If anybody's going to declare war on Venezuela, it's Congress. It's not the president. He doesn't have that power. Congress has the power to regulate commerce domestically and internationally. Congress has always set up tariffs, not the president. He invoked IEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which doesn't mention tariffs and has never been used for tariffs. And that's why he got struck down by our Court of Trade. There are now 197 preliminary injunctions and temporary restraining orders that have been entered against this reign of lawlessness and chaos across the country. So look, you get through all of that stuff. We've got the power to establish the post office. And only we have the power to take it down, not Donald Trump or Elon Musk or Doge. We've got the power to promote the progress of science, which is not a bad word. Science is a good word. Okay. All these things, you get to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 of the Constitution, and all other powers necessary and proper to the execution of the foregoing powers, right? Then, after all that, you get to Article 2 of the Constitution about the executive power. And sometimes, my colleagues will get up, even my beloved Nancy Pelosi, she'll get up and she'll say, well, we're three co-equal branches. And I always leap to my feet. I say, I beg to differ. First of all, co-equal is not even a word. Okay, that's not a real word. But secondly, if we're co-equal, tell me this. Why does Article 2 say that a president shall be impeached for and upon conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors? And we've got the power to impeach and try the president, but he doesn't have the power to impeach and try us. That's very curious. What is the core job of the president of the United States under Article 2? It's basically two things. One, commander-in-chief, but not of the nation, not of the government, not even of the armed forces, commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy in times of actual conflict. And what's the real central job of the president? To take care that the laws are faithfully executed. That's it. Not thwarted, not diverted, not altered, not changed, not ravaged, not mutilated. Take care that the laws are faithfully executed. All we say to President Trump is do your job. Execute the jobs. Execute the laws as they've been written by Congress and as they've been signed into law by you or by another president. And that's why we have Article 3 of the Constitution, the judicial branch. J.D. Vance seems to think that the president gets to decide what the law means. No, 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 no. The Marbury versus Madison in 1803 said it is emphatically the province and the duty of the judicial department to say what the law is. That's the job of the court, to define the meaning of the Constitution. Under Article 6 of the Constitution and the federal laws are supreme. We have a supreme Constitution. We don't have a supreme leader. But everything is under attack now. The Bill of Rights is under attack. The First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the right of people to speak without being thrown into prison or put on an airplane and shipped off to another country or having their business shut down. Even Elon Musk doesn't have freedom of speech anymore. Donald Trump said if he supports Democrats for office, he's going to be in real trouble. They're gonna revoke all of his billions of dollars of federal government contracts, which perhaps they should do, but they should do because those contracts are a ripoff, not because of what Elon Musk is going to do in his own personal time in terms of his politics. But the media are afraid Donald Trump is using the FCC in order to go after ABC and CBS and all of these broadcast companies. And then he sues them, and then they have to settle with him personally because they're under the gun and they're not going to get anything done at the FCC if they don't essentially pay him off the way he's getting paid off for all these presidential pardons. There's two ways you get a pardon now. One is you contribute to MAGA and Donald Trump's fundraising entities, or two, you're a political foot soldier for Donald Trump and you engage in insurrectionary violence and riot against the government of the United States in order to overthrow a presidential election, which Joe Biden won by 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. But anyway, the First Amendment under attack, the media under attack. The Associated Press got kicked out of White House functions because they insisted upon calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Mexico. You can't even tell the truth anymore. So then we've got the separation of church and state under attack, right? One of my colleagues got up a few weeks ago. He said that the moral downfall of America was in 1962 in Engel versus Vitale when the Supreme Court banned prayer in the public schools. And I got up, I said, no, I beg to differ. The Supreme Court never banned prayer in the public schools. As long as there are pop math quizzes, there will be prayer in the public schools. Anybody can pray whenever he or she wants to pray. It's just the government cannot produce a religious script and compel your children to participate in it. But it doesn't end with these people. Louisiana and Texas just voted to endorse the 10 Commandments and post the 10 Commandments in all the classrooms. So I knew it was going to happen. Our MAGA colleagues show up. They want to endorse the 10 Commandments. They want to post the 10 Commandments. I said, gee, the 10 Commandments, they've been doing fine for millennia without an endorsement by the House of Representatives or by the Freedom Caucus. No, they insist we got to do it. One guy tells me, he says, the 10 Commandments are the basis for the Bill of Rights. I said, really? I mean, I know there are 10 in each one, right? But the first commandment says, thou shalt have no other God before me. The First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Now, how does the First Commandment dictate the First Amendment? Anyway, we went to the Rules Committee, and they wanted to have an up or down vote on the floor of the House about the 10 Commandments. And I said, you know what? If we're going to vote on the 10 Commandments in 2025, on the floor of the United States House of Representatives, we should have to vote on each commandment separately, not the omnibus package, okay? And you shouldn't be allowed to vote for any commandment you yourself have ever violated, because then you'll be taking the name of the Lord in vain too. So anyway, this is what we are up against. The Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, the attack on due process, the two most beautiful words in the English language, which separate our rights and freedoms from the arbitrary power of government, the attack on the ban on cruel and unusual punishment, shipping people off, banishing them to a foreign country without any hearing at all, without any trial. And my colleagues say to me, well, wait, you're for due process for guilty people? And I say, yeah, because if you don't use due process, you don't know who's guilty and who's innocent, right? We can't determine who the guilty people are until there's been a trial first, until we've had an administrative hearing. So Anyway, look, we've got to stand strong for the independence of the judiciary. We've got to make sure they have enough security so they're not afraid of all the violent threats and death threats, which have now carried over from Congress, from all of us who get them over to the judicial branch. Amy Coney Barrett's sister got a death threat. Lots of judges are getting death threats, and our colleagues, our MAGA colleagues are running around. They say they want to impeach the federal judges who rule against Trump. They call them radical left. Boasberg appointee to the district court in the District of Columbia, first appointed by George Bush. He was Justice Kavanaugh's roommate at Yale Law School. And anyway, they want to impeach him. We've only impeached 15 judges in all of U.S. history, all of them for bribery, corruption, income tax evasion. One guy impeached for habitual drunkenness, not even occasional drunkenness. They thought that was okay, but habitual drunkenness, they said, could get kicked off. But there's never been a judge who's been impeached simply because the Congress disagrees with their opinion. And Chief Justice Roberts spoke out about this, and he said the correct answer to a decision you disagree with is to appeal the decision. You don't impeach the judge. So anyway, we're going to stand strong with the courts. We're going to get through this nightmare this year. Next year, we're going to organize all throughout the country, including in South Carolina and North Carolina, and we are going to win back the House of Representatives. We're going to cut this reign of terror in half. And then we're going to proceed to win the White House. And then we're going to expand freedom and expand equality and justice in the country. And we're going to defeat all of the authoritarians and the autocrats and the plutocrats who are trying to destroy everything in our country, from Medicare to Medicaid to Social Security. We're going to stand up for everything that democracy embodies and everything that democracy has achieved. And with that, I'll yield back, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Is this one or?
Yep.
Okay.
Are you gonna run for president?
Oh, shouting out, please. We got your list. Okay, so we got several questions from our membership. Several of them on the judicial system. So a former federal judge interviewed on the news recently said that if she were currently active, she would not use the Marshal Service for protection. Judges are under attack, like you said. What can Congress do to better protect them, and will they?
Well, thank you much for that. I mean, look, we're going to insist that we meet all of the budget requests from the judicial branch. I do have legislation to move half of the Marshal Service over to the judicial branch, so the judicial conference would be able to control their own security and their own bodyguards. Because, I mean, this is where we are now, my friends. People do not actually have confidence that this executive branch will be there for them in the event that they come under attack. I mean, they just sent the Marines to Los Angeles. I thought that was an Onion headline, that like somehow, they had the Marines storming the beach in Santa Monica or something. Well, that's pretty much what's going on. I mean, they are going to arrive at the beach and, go to Los Angeles, despite the fact that the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles are saying, thanks, but no thanks. Everything is fine here. We don't need that. You're going to make things a lot worse.
Right. Absolutely. What do we do? I'm not sure if this is still on. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
You gotta get.
What do we do if the Supreme Court rules in an unconstitutional way?
Well, there's the $64 billion question. Well, boy, before I answer it directly, let me just say, so far, well, we had a terrible decision from the court on Doge accessing our private data at Social Security on Friday. That was a nightmare. But they've been doing pretty well on the due process stuff. They met at 1 a.m. to say, turn those vans and buses around. You're not going to ship those people out of the country without a due process hearing. So that was pretty good. I mean, the district courts and the appeals courts have been great, but you are right to identify the problem with the Supreme Court. I mean, that's a court that Donald Trump, built and sliced and diced and gerrymandered overturn Roe v. Wade, and it has given us some simple decisions. As you know, it's quite thinks he operates with complete impunity and immunity because of what they did. All right, having said all that, the court, it seems to me that Chief Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett have pleasantly
Rest. Yep.
Oh.
demolishing all the independent agencies and commissions. He sacked all the Democratic appointees to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Election Commission, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. He's gotten rid of all of them. He says that these independent agencies and commissions are actually under his direct control, right? So what happens if he's got a majority to do that? And the one thing that might save us there is that the court doesn't want to put the Fed directly under Donald Trump's control. Can you imagine? I mean, even the conservatives don't want to do that, so that might save us. But if they go ahead and do it, I think they're doing something that one might not be quite as clearly unconstitutional because there's not anything directly in the text of the Constitution about the independent agencies and commissions. Now, for decades, the Supreme Court has allowed Congress to set them up on a bipartisan basis. And that has been seen to be legitimate. So I don't know if that's necessarily the hill that I would want to die on, but say, for example, Donald Trump unilaterally imposes martial law, which he has no authority to do, and he tries to take over some states, or he tries to establish a religion. He does something which we think clearly, or take, for example, the birthright citizenship stuff. Say he says, I'm going to strip citizenship from 10 million people whose parents, even though they were born in the United States and they've been citizens their whole lives, but their parents were not citizens or were tourists or whatever. What do we do about that? I think we.
Move my hand away.
I'm back.
What we're going to do, we are going to try to get all the states and local governments to recognize the citizenship and acknowledge the citizenship of people who've been citizens their whole life. And then, if that becomes some form of mass popular civil disobedience, well, then so be it. If we got to have, mass boycotts or general strikes, that's what democracies have done. And I'll just close with this point on your question, which is a very difficult question. It's on people's mind. But look, I invited an historian to come in to talk to the Democratic caucus, and and we said, well, how did democracies defeat real authoritarian takeovers of their societies? And they said, well, if you've got a great inside political strategy alone, that will work about a third of the time. If you have a great outside strategy of popular resistance alone, that'll work about a third of the time. But if you put an outside strategy together with an inside strategy and you coordinate, you will win, and you can beat the authoritarians more than 2/3 of the time. So that's clearly what we've got to do.
Yeah. Are there any Republican senators willing to confront the issue of presidential immunity? Senator
Murkowski, I think, has grown increasingly estranged from the Republican Party, and she understands the dangers of that decision. So I think at least she would. The truth is that some of the Republican senators may be more willing to part with GOP orthodoxy now because if they're up in 6 years or 4 years, they've got a broader time span. They can see beyond Trump. But most of our House Republican colleagues are so afraid of him endorsing an opponent in the primary, and they were afraid, at least up until last week, of Musk spending them into oblivion in their primaries, that they weren't willing to challenge them. So we're still looking for the next generation of, Liz Cheney's and Adam Kinzinger's and Mitt Romney's, but it's slim pickings there because the GOP is operating a lot like a religious cult these days.
Yeah. Exactly. What is your stance on a little bit of a shift in topic? What's your stance on the Israeli genocide of Palestinians, and are sanctions being considered?
Well, of course, the use of the word genocide is obviously provocative and triggering for a lot of people. So I don't think you need to go there because there will be legal tribunals dealing with that allegation. But there certainly has been massive civilian casualties in Gaza, as well as all of the civilian casualties that were lost on October 7th in Israel, and it's been an absolute nightmare. And it seems to me like the right wing in Israel, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, have very much been driving the train with Netanyahu. And there are forces within Israel, like there's Donald Trump in America, who talk about depopulating Gaza and kicking those people out of the country. And that's just unacceptable and intolerable. And so we need to revive a meaningful peace process that will lead to mutual security and human rights and peace for everybody in that region, and get away from all of the violence and the hatred.
Donald Trump will do that, right?
Yeah, that's right on Trump's agenda. How is the Democratic leadership preparing to respond to aggressively stopping Trump from this dictatorship? Is there a planning going on? Is there some formal information that we'll someday get? Because I got a room full of people here who
Yeah.
really
Well,
something happened there.
no, I'm totally with you. I think everybody understands that we are in an absolute fight of our lives to defend democracy in America as we know it. And so this is why now I've given you kind of a slightly legalistic perspective on it because I'm the lead Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. But I do believe that all of these legal actions are going to be critical to stop them in their tracks. And we've been able to do it. We've been able to win in a whole bunch of cases. We were able to get tens of thousands of federal workers their jobs back because they were fired simply because they were in a probationary status. They were on probation not because they knocked over a liquor store, but because they'd been promoted to a higher job and they decided they would sack them. So we've been able to get some people their jobs back, but there's been, major devastation throughout the federal government, destruction of science, destruction of all the progress we've been making on vaccines and on immunization, and with education and so on. But we've won a whole bunch of these cases and we've got to keep hanging tough there. But as I was saying before, the key factor here ultimately is not going to be in the courts because we don't know what the Supreme Court will do. It's going to be in the streets with massive organizing across the country. And then we're going to have to win these elections, which means we've got to defend the integrity of the elections and secure people's voting rights. The Trump's made an absolute hash out of the economy. The prices are out of control. He said he was going to bring down the price of eggs on day one. They've never been more expensive in the country, and the price of eggs Benedict is unacceptable as he proves, basically every principle and rule that we've got in our Constitution. So I think that, I'm going to be out protesting on Saturday, June 14th. I hope you guys will be out protesting. For no kings, no queens, no nobles, no serfs, no slaves, just the people. And those of us who aspire and attain to public office are nothing but the servants of the people. And the minute anybody at any level of government in office begins to act like a king, a queen, a lord, an emperor, or a czar, that is the moment to evict, eject, reject, impeach, convict, try, start all over again for all of us, okay? Because here the people rule, the people govern.
So that leads me to, I think, a question we all ask ourselves every day as we watch the news. What are the chances that we can impeach Donald Trump and also get rid of J.D. Vance so Hakeem Jeffries can be president?
Well, look, there's no shortage of impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors we've already seen as he constantly tries to usurp the power of Congress, whether it's on tariffs or the declaration of war as he tries to impound and redirect money that's been appropriated by Congress. But of course, impeachment requires a majority in the House and 2/3 in the Senate to convict. And so those numbers aren't in the cards, but it is very important for us to keep scrupulous documentation of every single offense against the Constitution that's taking place. And it is critical for us to win back the House of Representatives next November. And that's why I'm flying all over the country to make that happen.
One thing, a lot of the questions that were submitted to me focused on the idea of messaging and the democratic messaging. Do you see a significant change in messaging coming from the Democratic Party? Are we going to be more unified? Are we going to be more together on what we're talking about? What are our messaging challenges and how are we fixing them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert on the whole messaging thing, but I will say this, that it's always easier for authoritarians to message than for people who believe in democracy, because you have one simple message, like this week everybody's going to hate Mexican rapists, and next week everybody's going to hate the transgender kids, and the next week we're going to hate the immigrants or whatever, and whereas we're trying to actually build things, not tear things down. We want to have social security for people for their retirement. We want universal pre-K so kids are ready for kindergarten to go in and their brains can be developed. And we want to fight diseases and promote public health and so on. It's a lot harder to message when you're trying to make a whole society successful, as opposed to just mobilize people's bigotry against scapegoats, but if you want my message, I'll give you a very easy message, okay? And this is what I teach the young people in our Democracy Summer Project. It's very simple. Everything that you need to know about voting in America is everything that you need to know about driving in America. If you want to go forward, you put it in D, and if you want to go backwards, you put it in R, okay? And if you don't want to go anywhere, you keep it in neutral.
That's a winning line there. Since you mentioned your students, as a law professor, what do your students think about the rule of law, the Constitution, and their future?
Well, I think that there are whole parts of the Constitution that have come alive for them, have come alive for all of us, that nobody focused on before. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 of the Constitution says that nobody in federal office, including the president, but nobody, can accept without the consent of Congress a present, an emolument, which means a payment, an office or title of any kind, whatever, from a foreign king, prince, or state. And yet we've got a president now who wants to bring back a $400 million jumbo jet 747 flying grift, Bride Force One, from the government of Qatar. and they won't even come to Congress for our consent. So we have a resolution, of course, all the Democrats are on it, demanding that the president come in to seek our consent. Abraham Lincoln in 1862, in the middle of the Civil War, got these two beautiful elephant tusks from the King of Siam. And in the middle of the Civil War, he wrote a letter to Congress saying, can I keep these elephant tusks? They're beautiful. And they wrote back and they said, you know, Honest Abe, you're doing a great job in the war. We love you, but no, you can't keep them. Turn them over to the Department of Interior. This guy wants to take a $400 million gift from Qatar and then put $1 billion of our money, our taxpayer money, which is called a domestic emolument, because all he's allowed to take from us is his salary, but he wants us to invest $1 billion to refit his jumbo flying bribe from Qatar and then take it off with him when he leaves office. So he gets that as a present. I mean, come on. So anyway, the Constitution is live. Our founders were wise people. You know, I like to say Donald Trump doesn't know a lot about the founders, but they certainly knew a lot about him, because a lot of the precautions built into the Constitution are to deal with that kind of venality and corruption. But having said that, we need to keep going. You know, if you look at the vast majority of the amendments we've had since the Bill of Rights, we're democratizing amendments, making us a more democratic republic in a more perfect union. 13th Amendment abolishes slavery. 14th Amendment, equal protection and due process. 15th Amendment bans race discrimination in voting. 17th Amendment shifts the mode of election from the legislatures to the people for U.S. senators. 19th Amendment doubled the franchise by giving women the right to vote in America. The 23rd Amendment gave people in Washington, D.C. the right to vote in presidential elections. 24th Amendment banned poll taxes. 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18. You see, that's the trajectory we got to get back on, expanding democracy. And that means also statehood. And I'm not talking about Greenland and Canada and Panama. I'm talking about Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., millions of American citizens who are locked out of the union. And we need a universal amendment granting everybody the right to vote so we don't have to spend all of our time and energy fighting voter suppression laws and tactics around the country. We've got to anchor it in the Constitution.
Right?
Yeah.
That segues nicely into my last question, because you've given us a great deal of your time and we really appreciate it. So we are a red state, a very red state. What can we do? What are your suggestions if you were here? What can we do to help?
I got to tell you, you have uplifted and inspired and encouraged me so much just by inviting me to come and talk to you. And no good act in this process is wasted anywhere. There are young people in South Carolina who need your leadership. They need your organizing. And people all over the country see it when South Carolina has people like you who are moving and who are acting. It's very important. And, you know, it's going to be tough to be winning, you know, a lot more House seats with the gerrymandering that's going on. And we're going to have to take down the gerrymandering. But fight at the local level, fight for those school board seats, fight for those town council and city council and county council seats. You know, what you're doing is really important. I'll quote to you what my dad said when we were kids growing up. He said, when everything looks hopeless, you are the hope. And you guys are the hope in South Carolina. And so I'll leave you with the words of Tom Paine, who my son Tommy was named after. And Paine got over in 1774, and he fell in love with the promise of America. He said, if this land lives up to its ideals and values, it will become an asylum to humanity, he said. Not an insane asylum, but an asylum to humanity, a place of refuge for people seeking freedom from religious and political and intellectual oppression from all over the world. And in 1776, when the country was split down the middle about what to do about the revolution, he wrote a beautiful pamphlet called The American Crisis. I'm going to quote this little passage, which Nancy Pelosi, she says, change the language a little bit so as not to offend modern sensibilities. And so Tom Paine was a feminist. He wouldn't mind. He was fighting for women's right to vote back in the 18th century. But he said, these are the times that try men and women's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will shrink at this moment from the service of their cause and their country. But everyone that stands with us now will win the love and the favor and the affection of every man and every woman for all time. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, but we have this saving consolation. The more difficult the struggle, the more glorious in the end will be our victory. So let's make that victory ours. Greenville County Democratic women, thank you for what you're doing. Hang tough, everybody. Hang tough.